Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Trinity Morris. I want to say thank you all for coming to participate and view this panel discussion.
So my name is Mahlik Good. I am a junior here at SIUE majoring in social work. I am disabled. I actually have all hidden disabilities. So that is interesting in itself. I'm super happy to be here.
I want to give you a special thank you for being the only panelist during this discussion. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to participate and inform us and letting us get to know you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to begin with, well, first of all, I just want to give a little background on why we're having this panel discussion. As we all know, February is the month, Black History Month, is a national celebratory month. As it is Black History Month, we all in Access deals with assisting those with life impairments. This panel is here to recognize and give a platform to those who deal with being African American, Black, and also having life impairments or disabilities. So once again, thank you, Malik. Thank you all for attending. And we will begin questioning. Okay. For question 1, what is life like on campus and in society for you as a disabled Black person?
I would say that it is extremely rough. Being Black is an aspect, being a Black man is an aspect, being disabled is an aspect. You put it all together, and that's a big aspect, right? So I would say it's been challenging, especially because as a child, doctors don't really like to diagnose you with things. They don't like to really intervene. They you grow out of it. And the reality is that's not always the case. And so for me, none of my disabilities are new. And I think it was sad to me. It was sad for me to realize that I had struggled for so long with things that I could have been getting assistance with. So it definitely is a struggle, for sure. It's a struggle, but I would say until I came to SIUE, I actually was not empowered to speak out about my difficulties or my abilities. I don't want to necessarily call them all difficulties. And so what really empowered me was meeting Dominic. And one, didn't expect to see a Black man running the accessibilities and that type of office. So that in itself was empowering, seeing a Black man in that position. So really seeing him, and he's authentically himself. So if anyone watching this or on the call doesn't know who Dominic is, look for a tall man, probably wearing a hat. If not, got the salt and pepper beard, head's kind of bald. And he is probably giving all blackety black vibes in some shape, form, or fashion. That is Dominic Dorsey. And so he really empowered me to accept, like, hey, if you need help, ask for it. If you need me, I'm here. And this wasn't even a personal interaction. This was on one of the incoming calls that we were doing for SIUE, and it was virtual. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna reach out. I don't know if it had to do with him being a Black man. I don't know if it had to do with his personality, his character, and his delivery, but it really persuaded me to say, you know what? It's time for me to stop struggling. And if this school really is embracive, and if they really have resources to help me, I should tap into them. So it's a struggle. However, I think once you start beginning to get assistance, it is easier. And also having hidden disabilities doesn't make it better, because people don't see me in a wheelchair. They don't see me when my leg literally does not work. That is a whole reality. I could get off this call right now and decide that I want to get up and go to the kitchen and my leg might not work. Like, that's just how real it is, right? There's nothing about me that necessarily shows it. If I put on my hand braces, people treat me differently. They're, what happened? Are you okay? And I'm like, Nah, I was this way yesterday. My hands just really are killing. I am constantly in pain, and I just don't. People just don't know what they don't know. But I think as society is progressing, some of society, right? Some of society is progressing towards being or having a more inclusive mentality. It definitely helps with living as a Black man and living as a Black man with a disability. So it's a challenge, and I think that that would be the case for probably most individuals that identify as disabled or enabled. Um, Enabled with an E, not I. Enabled, because we want to change that negative connotation of it, right? So whoever has abilities, let's put it that way. It can be a struggle, but when we have the proper resources, we have the people that have an interest in supporting us, it definitely goes a long way.
Yes, that was, first of all, that was very powerful. It was so insightful. Big shout out to Mr. Dominic Dorsey,
Absolutely.
a great leader. Um, he is the director of the Access Office, but he's so much more than that. He's also an instructor, as well as personally just a great person, a great mentor, everything under the sun. Okay. Continue on. What are common issues you face as a student and individual?
And issues that I face, I think I'll change that word and say frustrations. I often am frustrated that I have to like prove to people. I feel like I have to prove to people that I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with. Um, it's not enough for me to just say, "Hey, is it okay if X, Y, and Z?" Um, and that is a challenge because that means now I'm being forced to disclose, you know, things that are personal. I don't need everybody to know that I'm disabled. Just honor the fact that I'm saying I'm a human. This is something I need. If you can make it happen, make it happen. But it's not always that easy, right? So that is often an issue that I'm faced with. Another issue I would say is actually having resources accessible to me. And I would say that since I've taken on the mentality of inclusion in diversity and being disabled, because that in itself is a whole different ballpark. Like once I realized, wait, I'm a person with a hidden disability. Like I had to be taught that term, right? I was like, oh, that changed my whole perspective. And I'm like, okay, well, then I started getting introduced to what ableism is. I'm like, oh, and so like for instance, I live at a student living complex and there is 2 handicap parking spots in my parking lot. um I have an issue when people that do not have handicap parking think that they have the right to park in handicap parking spots. Okay, I understand that it might be the mentality, oh, we're all college kids, so nobody need. No, that's not the case. So I'm be honest, earlier this week I got fed up. I called the non-emergency line for Edwardsville and said, "Hey, can you come enforce parking in my parking lot? Because somebody parked in handicap parking and they continuously do it." Um, and I had photos for multiple days, but I think they got ticketed because they don't park it anymore. So, but I would say definitely common issues is people not taking me seriously. People not take even if I have documentation, having things accessible to me, and when things are accessible, people who don't need them taking advantage of them. People not respecting the fact that these resources are being made available for people who have need for them and not just a want for them, right? And it could be an assumption on my end that just because they don't have handicap parking doesn't mean they're not handicapped. I know who it is, so they're not. They're just abusing the parking spot. But they're my neighbor. But that's not the case. It's it's even as small as when you go into the bathroom. Do you decide to go into the handicap stall just because it's bigger? Do you act that space? Right? What if someone comes in with a wheelchair? A lot of places, even on our campus, are not accessible in the first place. I'm a social work major. One of my teachers told me when she was in college, one of her friends said, it's crazy. The only thing people who are handicapped on this campus can do is go to the bathroom and pee. Like, go to the bathroom and shower. Like, that's it. Because everywhere else has to step up. Everywhere else has, whatever. But the bathroom was the only place that had, any kind of accommodation. And it was only one where you could shower if you were in a wheelchair. So it's just like, we don't get a lot. So please don't abuse the few things that we have, but I'll get off my soapbox on that one.
I just want to say that ticket that your neighbor received, I know that's not cheap. So he's mighty bold for that. I know it's at least $500. So good luck with that. I hope he learned his lesson.
It's $250, but I
$250. Okay.
It's $250 here. It is 500 some places. I don't know why certain places are higher than others, but it's $250. And I felt bad because he happens to be a black man, a black male, right? And it's like, okay, I know my struggle. Why would I want to impose that on somebody else? But brother, you got me walking. Um, I've been walking 100 miles to get in what seems like to get to my apartment because all the parking spots are full that's close to the door, other than handicap parking. But I'm not the only one that's handicapped. So there's actually there is another individual that lives here that has handicap parking. And so when I see their car, I'm like, okay, I pray nobody's in the other parking spot. But it's just like, after so much, we have to do what we have to do when our resources are being taken advantage of. Right. And if I decided to intervene, that could go really left, right? By knocking on the door, leaving a note. So I just decided I would let law enforcement do their job. And hopefully that, doesn't
let things play out on its own.
Yeah.
I mean, it's understandable, like you said, you being a black male and knowing that they're putting the, I guess, risk of another black male. Maybe not risk, that's not the correct term, but it's understandable. But at the same time, you can't do the certain things like that, taking away those resources for people that are like you, even though he may not be aware. Going on to question number 2. How do you recognize and honor times like Black History Month?
I've been waiting on this question. I'm Black 24/8, 393 days of the year. Okay. So for me, I feel like Black History Month is really for people who aren't Black to try to be performative. I also think that Black History Month provides, an opportunity for people that are Black or Black identifying, to have a moment to really celebrate our culture. But the reality is that's not really true. And so, for instance, I've been thinking this in my mind this year. This has got to be the most disrespectful Black History Month I've ever experienced. There is so many things going on where I feel like it's just intentional slaps in our face of, okay, you thought you got a month. We already took away, you gave you the shortest month out the year, but we're also going to make you have to deal with certain things that are just breathtaking. And so I was like, man, there's this meme that goes around the African-American, what is it? The African-American impulse. No, it's something like that. But basically, there's these things that, like, within our culture, we have this desire that's just like common to like say or do certain things. And one of them is to go, it's Black History Month. When stuff happens in February that's just really racist or racial in nature, bias. And I just found myself saying that a lot. Like, even in a month that is supposed to be dedicated to Black History Month and celebrating Black individuals, Black leaders, Black history, we aren't even able to really have that whole moment. And it's saddening, it's sickening. Even just as simple as locally within the 618, not 30 minutes away from campus, yesterday, an incident happened at a school where a mural was painted, and the school district decided to paint over the part that said Black Lives Matter. And the students protested and they locked them out of school. In February. Like, it's what did you paint the mural for? To honor Black History Month, but not want to include that part, right? So how do I honor and how do I recognize Black History Month? I participate. I do. I got my Black Excellence in Action shirt on, representing, my SIUE swag. I participate. I grew up in the church, so we always had the plays and doing speeches. In my background, other than the Valentine's Day balloons, y'all gotta pardon me, we had a snow day. You see on this wall Martin Luther King. When I do leadership tests that always match up to Martin Luther King. Ironically enough, some people call me Malcolm X, but I'm somewhere in the middle, in my opinion, because I do believe in the same values as Martin Luther King, but I also realize that sometimes having a Malcolm X mentality is required. And so I know how to do both. But I often had to do speeches. I used to know that I have a dream speech off the top of my head. Life caused me not to know that off the top of my head anymore. I found out adulting is not as fun as it looked. It is falsely advertised. And so there's a lot of things that you have to remember. And so I have a dream speech fell out of there. But so I participate. But to me, I'm Black every day. Every day to me is a day to create Black history. Every day is a day to create Black experiences that are authentic, and to celebrate my Blackness. I can't say that every day I feel like it's a great day to be Black, right? But the few moments that I do, I really love it. And in February, I feel like there's a lot more intentionality in Black people being able to celebrate our culture. So I do like that side of it.
I just want to say it's giving Marcus Garvey. Okay. And also, yeah, when I see the foolishness, I be like, not during Black History Month, baby. Not during it.
African American urge. That's what it is. The African American urge to go.
Oh, okay. Moving on to question number 3. What leadership roles has been taken by you or anyone else to promote inclusion of being impaired or African American or both on and off campus?
Absolutely. I want to go back to your question right before that, where you said, and I think I didn't answer it in the.
I'm sorry, I skipped over it. You're correct. Going back, would you like to change the way the campus celebrate these times?
Absolutely. So absolutely. And I'm gonna change that from campus to society. Like I said, I think that Black History Month is for non-Black identifying people to identify that we exist, right? Okay, we got a month. My personal opinion, they gave us a month and told us to shut up, right? Okay, we gave it to you. Do what you're gonna do and be happy. But what I struggle to be okay with is that a lot of times it's a lot of performative action. And so I know some people might be like, well, we're trying to, acknowledge the culture. So why are you complaining? My complaint is January, March through December, respect our culture. But in February, you want to put a special section in your store, not calling out any smell good location that I do frequent, and they sent me a coupon, just to say that these are scents inspired or relative to Black culture. It's only in February that you want to be mindful of the fact that we exist, and every other month it's consistent disrespect. You use Black History Month as a way to promote and market to get sales on your website by doing Black History Month themed shirts and products and sales. And after that, we have no support from you. After that, you support people who are very anti-Black or actually still doing February. They don't stop their contributions in the month of February. So it's just a struggle for me. If you want to celebrate and embrace Black culture, realize that we are not only Black in February. So that should be something that you cherish year round. And maybe you do intentionality and action in it, right? But that doesn't mean it starts and stops on February 1st and February 28th. And again, I'm talking about society, not just campus, but I'm pretty sure it applies to campus. So
Yes. You definitely said a word with that one. I agree with everything you said, especially about certain brands and stores about marketing to our community. But after the 28th of February, it's like, where you go? Where's
poof.
Waldo? Okay. Question number 3. What leadership roles has been taken by you or anyone else to promote inclusion of being impaired or African American or both on and off campus?
Absolutely. I have gotten to serve as a equity and inclusion ambassador. That's what we ended up naming it to be. And before that, it was named student program coordinator for the Inclusive Excellence Education and Development Hub, formerly known as the CSDI, Center for Student Diversity here on campus. That has been an amazing opportunity. Unfortunately, or I'm not going to even say unfortunately, life happens. It's full of transitions and they're often swift. So my work with that office came to an end as I transitioned to work for a different office on campus this semester. But I'm still 100% supportive of that office, right? So that was an amazing opportunity. I also got to reinstate an organization called the Association of Black Student Social Workers. You happen to be the historian for that organization. And so, and also a fellow social work student. Shout out to the social work department. But that organization is new to campus, right? It was originally instated in 1995. It's been multiple iterations, brought it back. And so we're really eager and happy to get started in serving our community. We do have a particular interest in serving Black people. And it took yesterday for me to be empowered to say that and not feel like I was being reverse racism. Because I always would say Black communities and communities, Metro East communities. That's how I even worded it in the mission purpose. And so there's nothing wrong with me saying that our Black community is struggling on campus and off campus. And I'm going to do what it takes to try to fix that. So those are 2 roles that I've been in. I think just being a Black student leader, being a Black leader when it's not campus related and I'm a student, right? That has put me in a lot of positions to be able to address inclusion. And I'm a social worker or a social work student. And social work is not just a major for me. It literally is my passion. So I am walking and living out the life of trying to really push for inclusion across the board. But now that I've identified as disabled, now that I have gone through some extreme struggles, even on this campus with my disabilities, I am probably way more passionate than I was about including disabilities and accessibilities inside of that inclusion piece.
I will definitely say that when you said you're not, you corrected yourself. You said I'm not a social worker. I'm a social work student. Let me tell you, social
Social
worker.
worker.
I'm a social worker because it's day in, day out. I'm already mentally there. I'm prepared. I already know.
Just trying to get the
And
credentials.
with
That is it. That's all.
that's all that it is. And with the work that you're doing as not only as a Black student on SIUE campus, as well as being a Black leader, especially of a Black organization that is catered to Black students, just hoping for Black excellence. You know what I'm saying? Like you're the thing. And you are setting an example not only for other Black students, but just for yourself, just so you can look back and be like, dang, I did this. Like, I'm really good. You doing it.
Please do not make me blush. Please don't help the people identify my dimples on this call. Please don't do that to me. Please don't do that.
Okay, we're gonna move on. What does proper leadership and change look like to you?
I think proper leadership and change look like being authentic. If nothing else, I'm pushing for authentic. I can never say that word right when it's time. Um, but authenticity, we're gonna go with it. We're gonna roll with it. Um, in your actions, right? So I think one, being a leader is not about a title or position. It's about what you do when no one's looking. It's about how you empower people towards reaching and attaining the desired goal, right? Whether that's individual or shared. And even with that, you can have all the greatest intentions, but if you only do things so that it looks good, that really doesn't, it doesn't, it's not authentic to me. Just keeping it a buck. So for me, proper leadership and change looks like being authentic in what you do. It looks like making really difficult decisions. I love what someone said yesterday at the anti-racism um, town hall. They said, no matter what you do, and I think it might have been my girl Sierra Emmert, no matter another social work student, um, no matter what you do, you're going to make people mad. You're going to cause a disruption. So why not cause a storm? And that was powerful for me. Um, and so um, it looks like not being afraid to do what's necessary. Not not watering down people's problems to say, well, I know that I know that there's a knife in your, like, through your hand, but here's the band-aid, right? Be happy you got a band-aid so it's not like bleeding out all the way. No, let's address the real issue. Let's produce real solutions. Um, and whatever that takes, as a leader, that's your role to make happen.
Okay. I like that. Being authentic and true to yourself, whether it's the good or bad, at least we know who you are and people can decide if they want to follow.
Absolutely.
How can others help make the necessary change to push the narrative of inclusive? Ooh, Lord, you did,
Inclusivity. I
you
got
you
you.
did, you did shared your little juju on me on campus.
I think the work of really promoting DEI as a whole is something everyone can be a part of. Um, and it can be so cool. Attend the trainings that the hub is doing. That's number one, right? I'm Black, and I acknowledge that I can have prejudices. I can acknowledge that I might have biases. I can acknowledge that, like I said, it was recently that I learned about ableism, right? And I was like, whoa, like, whoa, it is so infiltrated into our everyday lives that there's a lot of things that we just don't realize could be better. So realizing that even if you don't think that you're a problem person, you are. We naturally are, and we always will be. No matter how much we learn, we're always a learner when it comes to inclusion. Because we also don't know everybody's story, but everyone's unique. So just realizing that you can learn more every day, I think is a step. Trying to become an ally. So supporting those that might have different lives than you. You might not have anything that's classified as a disability by law, right? But maybe someone that you care about does. Or you don't know anybody that you think has a disability. I guarantee you, you probably do. You just don't know it. Um, so just extending grace, being kind, not assuming that just because someone is in a wheelchair that they want your help. There is still a aspect of individuality that they might really be fighting for. So it's and you'll learn that in training, right? Because that's the natural thing. You see someone in a wheelchair, oh, you want to help them, you want to do this, or they have, different things, your natural instinct is, let me step in to help. But just ask the question, hey, do you need anything? Or can I help you? Let them say yes or no. Like it's just as simple as being a good human. I didn't want to say that, but be a good human. Um, it's that feels so simple for me, but I know that that's not a simple. I know that that's not so simple. Um, but really just taking that step. It's not super major. You don't have to lead a revolution. You don't have to invent the next new trinket that's going to change the lives of those that might have disabilities. Just be a good human. Be open to learn, so that you can be a ally and supporter.
But you got to be specific when you say be a good human, because so
That's subjective.
it
It's
gets
very
tricky.
subjective.
Yeah. So we're just gonna continue on.
Absolutely.
Do you think you are being accommodated by teachers and staff correctly?
You want me to be honest?
Would I want anything else?
So I would say yes and no. Um, Absolutely. Yes to some, and maybe room for things to be desired out of others. Right. So all of my professors got the indication from Access of this person has, certain abilities, and, you know, help honor those. But I don't think everyone really knows what it means. And so that's been interesting to navigate. Um, and I would say for the most part, I feel supported. But there are rooms that I enter where I realize, okay, I feel disempowered again. Uh, although, um, although Access has given me way more than I imagined, in support. Sometimes it's not necessarily about giving me things, but how you make me feel. Um, and so I think that's where it's come in. For like midterms, my teacher decided, okay, we're gonna have a midterm, we're gonna do it in person, this, that, and the third. And this is the time allotment. She's a newer professor. I wonder, does she know, like, hey, since I have certain allowances, I'm not gonna be in class for that. Right? You can't wait till day of or the day before to decide to grant access or do whatever. Like, I'm going to have to go into a system. I'm gonna have to schedule time to take my test, to get my extra time, all of this good stuff. And she's like, I'm gonna put 4 essay questions on there. Ma'am, everybody cannot. Okay. So, and I feel less than empowered to say something because of the level of passion and dedication sometimes our professors have to their work. They might be sometimes not the most embracing of when you say, hey, I know you might have been teaching this class for 20 plus years, but how about we look at tweaking this? So I schooled us as much as they can. I love this, the what is it? Sunflower, the Sunflower Project, uh,
Yes.
supporting those with hidden disabilities and really like recognizing that we exist. I love that. If we can be the first college university in North America to fully embrace such a program, I think that would be very, 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 very boastful of us to be able to say. And hopefully we can spread the education of what hidden disabilities are, because I know that there's way too many people walking around here without realizing you don't have to struggle. So yes, I do feel like I'm supported by the school. I think there are spaces in times where I feel less than supported, but overall, I think SIUE is doing a great job when it comes to access and abilities. Um, Most definitely better than any other school I've been to. That's grade school all the way through my last institution.
Yeah, and it just what you speaking on your teacher, it just makes me think about as students we have required training such as sexual assault and things like that, and diversity. Makes me wonder, okay, what is the school doing as far as hidden disabilities? And do teachers are teachers even aware of access and what they do and what their purpose is?
I really don't think that I, I I would like to believe that they don't. Um, I would hate to think that people have a purposeful intention on doing harm. Now, I'm a black dude in America. I know people have a purposeful intention on doing harm. Okay, but let's act like we're in a perfect world. And it's just people are oblivious. That's why it never hurts to get to attend a training. Even if you feel like you're perfect at it, like there's always something you can learn. Um, but no, they're not. I think we need EDI and anti-racism training for our university. I need it to not be like not anymore, right? But actually, you know what I would love is if Impact Academy led the EDI training. That would be amazing. That would be amazing because we know that it won't be static. It'll be completely dynamic. But anyway, I will not hijack your
Got the wheels starting to go on. Okay, next question. It is reported that African Americans have the second highest rating of disability for any marginalized group, 1 in 4. Do you think this status quo is represented well within the SIUE community?
I think because of what you said, um, of it being highest disability marginalized group, I would say that it's hard to know whether or not that's a status quo because for African Americans, we don't receive the proper assistance in healthcare. So there's a lot of us walking around not knowing that we're disabled, and thinking that this is just what life is for us. Um, so that's my technical answer. My personal answer is absolutely. Um, just even in conversations that I've had with other peers that look like me, um, they'll be talking about something. I'll be like, "You realize you can get help with that, right?" And they're like, "No, no, no. I'm not gonna be extra. I'm not gonna." And I'm like, "What's extra about it? Struggling?" Like I just it's just amazing how many people don't realize they have a disability. So it wouldn't be shocking to me that 1 in 4 African Americans have a disability. It would not be shocking to me. I think if we really went down that list of what's classified as a disability, and then also realizing that what's legal isn't always right. Racism, um, well, racism is still legal, but um, let's say segregation was legal. Does that make it right? So just because the law has classified something as a disability or didn't classify it as a disability doesn't mean that it doesn't impair your life. So you might not meet something that's on that list, but it is critically causing you to have an impairment in your everyday activities. Reach out and get help. But I just don't think they know. So yes, I do think that 1 in 4 is probably very, 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 very accurate for our campus, for sure.
Yeah, when I did the research, I've actually found a few articles that support that, and it was very shocking to me, but I wasn't surprised. Just being a young Black woman, it makes sense when you're in a classroom full of other Black children, and it's like, that's why that person couldn't sit down for so long. That's why this person didn't listen to the teacher. Like, they didn't need a whooping, they need
No,
detention.
they didn't need medicine. They didn't need to be put in special ed. They didn't need a IEP. Now some people need an IEP and don't want one, but they so many systems are not set up to know how to handle Black students
Mhm.
and Black youth, and we push them into boxes that are made for white people.
Right.
And so now they get mishandled, they get misclassified, and that's why there's a distrust for when a teacher says your child has X, Y, and Z. Our immediate response is, like, in the whole time, it could be true, but nevertheless, yeah, I do think that fits. I think that fits, and I just really think it's sad that so many people are struggling, and have struggled, have gotten. I don't want to say whoopings. What's the proper term for that? Spankings,
Yeah. Okay.
physical discipline, or worse, right? When all they needed was help. They needed right help, right? Um, so yeah, that's a whole different topic that we could go down.
To piggyback off that last question, as African Americans are highly underdiagnosed and mistreated in healthcare settings, do you think you would be living differently if you were not diagnosed?
So I'm gonna promise you, I didn't even get to paste two of the questions before now. So I love the fact that this is on here. And I was not I did not know. So I was not hinting at this the whole time on purpose. I would say because I've lived life not being diagnosed, um, yes, my life would be my life has been very different because my doctors did not diagnose me and did not handle me the way that they should have. It took me being an adult to get diagnoses. It took me being an adult to realize my like I can go. So I have a disability that is physical, right? And I was dreading making this appointment. Oh my God, I was dreading this appointment. So I made the appointment, went there, and I'm like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. You know, they checked me out, took a couple of scans, and they were like, so yeah, this is what you have, and this is what we can do. And we can get this back in order. It was something they had to make custom for my body in about 2 weeks. And you talked about this pain with walking. It's something with my feet, right? So you talked about this pain with walking and standing and this, that, and the third. Do you have handicap parking? I was like, no. And I was like, okay, so we're going to get you a note so that your employer and your school has what they need. And then we're going to get you the temporary handicap parking. I said, wait, what? Like, I didn't have to fight. I didn't have to push. I didn't have to beg. I didn't have to bribe. I didn't have to go to all these follow-up appointments. It was just a matter of, I need help, and you gave it. You took me at my word. You did do a little evaluation, you know, but right, it wasn't a fight. And I think so often as an African American, I don't know how I feel about that word anymore either. A Black person, we have been conditioned that fighting is our norm, right? Just to be on this call today, no one knows what it actually took for me to be on this call, for me to be living today. No one knows what that takes. And there's this extra weight that's associated just because I'm Black. Like I've been saying so recently, I'm tired of being Black in America. I'm tired of having to deal with what it takes to be a Black man in America. And that weight looks different from my other Black brother, right? That weight looks different for you, one of my Black sisters, right? So my life would be very different. It is different. And now that I am starting to get certain diagnoses, um, I am able to actually succeed and thrive. Like I can actually walk now and not be in pain. Well, I'm in pain, but it's reduced, right? And that's just like, I didn't think that would be a reality. So once I can figure out all this upper body pain, okay, we're gonna be rolling and kicking. You ain't gonna be able to stop me. But yeah, that's the answer to my question. Life has been different for me because I've lived life not diagnosed, and I've lived life as having doctors that cared, had compassion, that was authentic in their leadership, and made change happen for me.
That's the word of the day, authentic.
Absolutely.
Okay. As we're winding down, um, I'm sorry, I want to give you a good question because I know you.
You're good. I feel like I hit some of this. What about question 10?
Yeah, I was. Look at you. What motivates you to keep going and continue being you?
What keeps me going and continuing to be me? So SIUE, outside of SIUE having a great leader in the Office of Accessibility, they have a great leader in the Office of Leadership Programs. And I got to participate in the Collegiate Leadership Summit this year. It was virtual, but we made that thing work, okay? And my topic was holding true to self in a world where conforming seems easy. Holding true to self in a world where conforming seems easy. And in that presentation, I talked about so many things, but authenticity. Hey, that's the second time. Was one of the main points, right? Courage was a point. But I would say what motivates me to keep going and continue being me is to realize that no one can beat me being me. There's a reason why I'm me. Even though sometimes I don't like some of the aspects of being me, I'm me. And so I don't have any other life to live. So I'm going to live mine to the best and the fullest. I think as far as my newfound journey of being a disabled individual, especially with hidden disabilities, what empowers me to keep going is realizing that there are people that are supportive, realizing that what I've experienced my whole life, it doesn't have to be my reality, right? So it's the Dominic Dorsey's. I'm not gonna go name listing a whole because then I'll forget somebody. But Dominic Dorsey is just a critical component of my journey. Like I just, if I had to say number one, it's Dominic. Um, that really do care. They really are there to support you. So for me, it's having a resource group. It's having that thought in the back of my head that can't nobody beat me being me. There's purpose for me being here, even though I might be in pain, even though I might have a struggle, even though people don't even know what it takes for me to be here. There's still purpose. And until I've no longer on this earth, I'm going to try to live out that purpose. I want to see everything that I can become. I want to be able to be asked to speak on virtual panels, and I have a list and still do it and thrive. So it's it is it's really a matter of showing the enemy and showing people who don't believe in me that you're wrong. You won't win. I will succeed. And I'm going to be able to display what Black excellence in action really looks.
Thank you for that, because that's for you. Because like you said, no one can beat you at being you. And it only gonna get better from here on out. Um
Absolutely.
Again, thank you. I want to take this time out to allow any of the viewers to ask you any questions that they have. So if anyone wants to drop a question in the chat or unmute themselves, they may do so.
And if you want it to be anonymous, you can send it to Trinity and she will not tell me who it is.
Look at you. You got all the answers.
So I have a question, kind of. You did already touch on this a little bit, but my question was, what can student leaders do to make like the Black disabled, since that is an intersectional identity for you, experience better? And you did kind of touch on that. I just wanted to know if you had like any final thoughts or any additions to what you've already said.
Absolutely. I think one, thank you for being here. Right. I think that's the first step is being here. Um, the presence or lack thereof is something that speaks louder than anything else a person can do in my eyes. To give you something tangible, right? Other than to be authentic, to give you something tangible, it will be seek and listen to what Black disabled students have to say and then respond. And it's the same advice I gave administration yesterday.
Thank you. And thank you for being here too. And then this may just be like a yes or no question. I've just heard this from other students, but do you feel that campus or even the SIUE community or even society as a whole is more health conscious since COVID began?
More health conscious?
Mhm.
Yeah, yes. I would say yes. Some of them. Those that have heart, Yes. Those who have an ice box in their chest, no. And like Dr. Cherry, I'm giving him the doctor title out of respect, said you cannot teach humanity to people. And so I think those who know what compassion and empathy is probably realized, whoa, like this is going off topic, but everybody thought like being homeless was this thing that you must have did something really bad in life to become homeless. And I think the pandemic took away the veil over people's eyes and realized I am one action away, right? And even with COVID, I am one interaction with somebody 15 minutes or more, according to the recommendation of the CDC, which don't mean much to me anymore, from being sick in the hospital. I am one day away from potentially not being here or being here. And I think for some people who had a clean bill of health who got COVID and they decided, well, I'm not getting vaccinated. I can take all the vitamins and do everything else that I want to do and don't need a vaccine. And then they end up going in the hospital and being on a respirator. It's not what they call that thing. But they end up, going to the hospital, being on the different medicines that they have, or the technologies that they're trying to create at the same time. I think that gave people a new narrative, a new perspective of it's not a me versus them. It's not a us versus everybody. It literally is your tomorrow, your next hour, your next minute, your next second. You do not know what is in store. And so I think people, if nothing, I think people learn what grace, I think people learn what empathy is, respect and regard for different people's health. Maybe for those that have autoimmune disease disorders, right? People now understand like, whoa, so this is your life 24/7. Even me, I didn't know what that was until now. And I'm like, yo, like you actually have not been sick 20 times in a month because people are wearing their masks and washing their hands. It took a pandemic for us to wash our hands. Okay. So yes, it's the answer to your question. I think for some. And my hope is that one day we'll be in a society where everyone has the passion towards being quote unquote good humans in my book, right? But just like Martin Luther King, when he gave the I Have a Dream speech, he knew that the people that he was speaking to would never live to see the dream that he had. He knew that he wouldn't necessarily live to see the dream that he had, but he was gracious enough not to tell us that part, right? Because we all play a role in feeding the healed future. Now, I'm not pulling that out my own book. I got to give all respect to Rebecca Bennett, Edwardsville resident, actually Edwardsville resident, I meant to say, who came and spoke at our MLK event again through the hub. But I don't want to go on my soapbox. But yes, I do. Answer your questions, yes. Allie put in a comment, how often do you run into occurrences like the one with the teacher scheduling an exam last minute? And how comfortable are you with reaching out? I am also disabled and feel comfortable reaching out because I am fortunate enough to be online. But I feel as though you are strong in your identity, and I am curious as to how you handle this situation. Great question. How comfortable do I feel in reaching out? I would say I feel very comfortable because I am, contrary to popular belief, I do deal with imposter syndrome. I can have shyness, right? I can struggle to not be timid and passive. Do I display that necessarily? No. So most people think of me and they think he's this bold, dynamic, powerhouse person that comes in and can command a room. But people that have got to see me more full circle will say, it's amazing how you have the ability to come in and command the room or come in and not even be acknowledged. Right. And so I feel comfortable. I would say sometimes you pick and choose your battles. Right. So do I even owe her an explanation of the fact I'm not going to be in that classroom on the day of the test? It's her job to read the emails that she got. at the beginning of the semester. I did my job. It's time for her to do hers that she's earning a paycheck for. Um, so I um, and I might send an email, right? Um, and I often do. There's just particular energy with this certain professor, but I feel comfortable. I don't think that everyone does, and so what I'll say, if my answer was no, or with my answer being yes, for those that might not be comfortable, know that it's always good to have an advocate, right? So if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to the Office of Access, and they'll be more than happy to help you in that process. If you don't have, because this is probably going to be put up somewhere, if you are clear it with all the soapboxes I've gone down, if you don't necessarily go to SIUE, it can be anyone that loves you and supports you, to reach out and just say, hey, great example here on campus. One thing I love about SIUE is the sense of diversity we have, right? So I'm in class with somebody that's old enough to be my father. Okay. And he was talking about being in a classroom, and the professor was leading class and was not aware that, okay, you put something on the screen that's small. You can't just assume that everybody has the ability to see it, right? And so he didn't say anything because he didn't want to be singled out because he's the oldest person in the room. And he's a social work student. The other person is also a social work student. She raised her hand and said, Professor so-and-so, would you mind enlarging that so we all can see it, right? And she leaned over to him and said, hey, I got you. And I think that answers one of the questions of what can we do? What can student leaders do? What can just, anyone do to be supportive is be that helping person, right? You see somebody struggling. If you can support, do it. Like I said earlier, don't always assume, right? If there's not actually a struggle, but just reaching out to people that love you, they will try to support you. And if they don't know, tell them, hey, if you don't know what to do for me in these moments, it's okay to ask me, because sometimes they're fearful to say, hey, I'm going to use this example because someone I know, they deal with seizures, right? And so not everyone knows what to do in the event that someone's having a seizure. And so if you do something wrong, that can really have a negative impact on the person. So it's okay to say, hey, I know that this is something that you deal with. How can I best support you? And also let them know, hey, you're someone that I cherish. You're someone that's important to me. You're someone that's close to me. Let me explain to you what's happening here, and how you can support me. So I hope I answered your question. Everybody needs a support system. That's another workshop that I have led. But
Okay. Thank you again for that. Thank you, Ali, for your question. Also towards to Julia. Um, it is the time is over 6 o'clock. Do not want to hold you all up any longer. Again, thank you, Mahlik, for being such a great inspirational person. Being the only panelist on this panel and giving us insight of your daily life, what it's like to be Mahlik, and the in and outs of you, what makes you you. So big shout out to you. And again, this is the end, and thank you all. I'm boring. Oh my goodness. Anyway, thank you all for coming out, and you guys I keep saying you guys. You all stay safe, stay warm. Have a great night. Bye.